So everything you wanted to know about men's rings will be covered in this video: style, history, etiquette. I'm here with the expert, Matthew Wildsmith of Wildsmith Jewellery on Jermyn Street. So what are the main categories of rings for men? Matthew, how would you define them?
Well, I suppose you have signet rings, wedding bands, and then dress rings.
Which is probably quite a broad category, yeah?
Very much so.
Okay. I think most men are aware of the signet ring and the wedding band. I wear both. Historically, what would a gentleman get first?
Well, historically, a gentleman was given a signet ring coming of age, sort of 18th or 21st.
Probably 21st historically.
Yeah, and that would be the ring they wore almost exclusively for the rest of their life. Wedding bands became a bit more popular for men in the 1920s.
So the classic signet ring, that's worn on the left hand little finger, the pinky?
Well, traditionally, like a lot of things with the English, are sort of steeped in class snobbery. Signet rings were traditionally worn on the left hand little finger, or the pinky finger, because they typically had your family crest on it. And it was basically with the view that you defend with the left and you bear arms with the right. But that made the assumption that everyone was right-handed. But I think nowadays you should wear a signet ring on whatever hand, on whatever finger you wish, whatever fits into your aesthetic and style, whatever's comfortable. Some people, if they're left-handed, don't like to write with rings on their little fingers. So it's entirely up to the wearer.
Well, I, like probably many people, come from a crestless family. When I was a teenager, I became interested in classic style. Noticed a lot of people whose style I admired wore these small gold rings. So for a 19th birthday, I had a signet ring with my initials on.
Well, most families won't have a family crest. So the alternative to that would be having your initials engraved on the ring. That could be 2, 3, or sometimes even 4. And then you have the options to have sort of nice interlocking scrolling. Or you can have what's called a cartouche, which is where your initials are laid over one another.
Okay.
It's very sort of late Victorian, Edwardian.
Oh, nice. Is a cartouche a monogram?
Yes. And that's just a nice way to effectively, a signet ring is something that means something to you. It's presented to you at a stage of life. So traditionally 18th or 21st, but now, there are no rules anymore. Although we have no family crest, I remember as a child, my father wore a signet ring with a stone on it. I think it was a fashion accessory. But again, I've always liked the stones as an alternative to the engraving. Well, jewellery makes you feel good, and if you've got something that's, personal to you, and for whatever the reasons you wear it, it can be as simple as for the fact that you like it. And jewellery doesn't wear out like other things that we consume. And they're a nice thing to pass on to the next generation as well.
Oh, certainly, okay. So I'd say, from my experience, the most popular ring a man wears is his wedding band or wedding ring. Quite a modern thing, I guess, because neither of my grandfathers wore wedding rings, and my father only started to wear one in his 40s because he wanted to get one, he liked the look of it. And I wear one. I wasn't too sure whether to wear a ring or not because I didn't at the time like jewellery. But unlike, say, the signet ring, I would say your wedding band, unless it's on your on your ring finger, is it even a wedding band? Is that it? Because I always say left hand ring finger is where your wedding band belongs.
So yes, you answered a lot of the questions there.
So I was right then?
Yeah, exactly. I think men traditionally aren't used to wearing jewellery. One of the biggest struggles is men getting used to the idea of wearing a piece of jewellery, especially if they haven't worn a signet ring. But the wedding band worn on the ring finger of the left hand, I believe traditionally, because that was the vein that connected the hand to the heart, which I think isn't biologically correct, but it sounds very nice. And it's just getting used to that alien feeling of wearing a wedding band. And I think, most married couples, it symbolises love, eternal love.
I also feel it's now pretty much expected. It's no longer an option. I think it's expected. I remember when I was talking to some friends and I was saying, I'm not sure if I'll get a wedding band or not. They were looking at me like, well, why not? It was as if it wasn't an option. It's an expectation that a man nowadays gets married, wears a wedding ring. And after the wedding band and the signet ring, a customer comes to you looking for more jewellery, which I think I'm in that category, so I really do enjoy wearing both rings. I want a third ring, and I know you wear more than 2 rings, and a lot of people whose style I quite admire have a third or fourth ring even. What is the third ring? You call it a dress ring? Is that quite a broad?
Yeah, it can become quite addictive, especially if you start to appreciate and just get used to wearing jewellery. We don't all want to look like one another, I suppose. So dress rings are a way of enhancing your own personal style. And I've got clients that wear rings on every finger and thumb, and it looks wonderful.
So I wear a very simple gold wedding band. I've moved my signet ring from my left hand to my right hand for comfort and balance. I'm in the market for a third ring. Where do we start?
So it depends what you perhaps want the ring to represent. I think with men, generally most sorts of gold rings of a slightly more conservative style are called a signet ring, because you could have a ring that has your birthstone perhaps with a gold rub over setting. Technically speaking, we still might refer to that as a signet ring. But then with dress rings, I mean, for example, Americans wear college rings and Super Bowl rings. Yeah. Gents like to wear rings that are sort of sculpturally quite impressive, so they can be, so I've got this ring which is circa about 1810, and it's a carving of Ajax, who was a Greek demigod. If you're drawn to a particular sort of colour or size or style, it's just about finding something that fits you and that just is balanced on your hands, I suppose.
I think that would be, if I was looking for, well, in my view, I'd like to bring some colour. I was looking for my 50th birthday. I was looking at getting perhaps another signet ring to signify my 50th birthday, but COVID happened and life changed. And I think I would like some colour, either for my right hand to move this one back, or to have it on my left hand. So that's where I was, and I've tried a few things on, and I'm still looking. But that takes me to the point where, although I have a reasonably large wardrobe, and I change my watch daily, I won't wear the same watch 2 days running. I've got a few watches, I've got lots of different cufflinks and shirts, ties, accessories. My rings tend to be my rings. I don't wake up in the morning and put together an outfit. I'd always wear these 2 rings, whatever I'm wearing, because they're part of me. And I guess my third ring would also be part of me. Or do I start seeing my third and fourth ring as more as outfit signifiers, maybe reserve them for the evening, reserve them for when wearing a suit?
Well, I think the more rings you start to add to your collection, the more you then perhaps become more selective about how and where you wear them, and depending how dressy the ring may be. But for something as elegant as, let's say, an additional signet ring, that you might want to have a coloured stone, or such as lapis or a carnelian, just to pick out a bit of colour, with or without engraving, then that's the sort of thing perhaps you might continue to wear. Again, it's just a case of being comfortable, looking at your hands. Okay, I've got that ring there, and it feels balanced and comfortable. And then, if you start again adding to the collection of your rings, you might take some off certain days, or if perhaps sporting activities, most sports you can wear a wedding ring, but other rings might be a little bit impractical, so you take them off. But it's a case of just going through them all, trying different rings on different fingers, seeing what works for you, and making an informed decision based on that.
Quick interruption, but opportunity to win a great prize. An online one-on-one style consultation with me. Ask me all your sartorial questions, I'll give you some bespoke advice, and to get this, all you need to do is be a subscriber to Rampley & Co. If you're not already, details below. I chose my wedding band in 9-carat gold because I think gold suits my colouring better, and it also complemented my current signet ring. Is that a popular choice?
Oh, very much so. So that's one of the nice choices if you are choosing your own signet ring. Traditionally, yellow gold was the metal for a signet ring. We say gentlemen's signet rings, but ladies equally wear signet rings, certainly in the modern day. And you could also choose white gold or rose gold. And with gold you have 9, in America you have 14 carats, traditionally in England it's 9 or 18. And I'd say the most popular metal we make rings in, especially if they're for the pinky, is 9-carat yellow gold. for the reason that 9 carat is more durable than 18 carat because there are more alloys in it to strengthen it. Also, a significant saving on 9 than there is to 18.
So you mentioned white to gold. Is that the same as platinum?
No, so interestingly, platinum and white gold look quite similar, but they're two different metals. White gold is yellow gold that we make white, so all gold comes out of the ground yellow. And with white gold, we mix it with palladium and rhodium to give it that white colour. And platinum comes out the ground white. The difference between platinum is denser than white gold. So with the signet ring, it would be more durable to practical living. But with a white gold signet ring, every few years, we place it with rhodium to give it a nice white lustre. You'll have to replace that every few years because that sort of yellow hue will start to appear through the ring.
And do you feel if you have a platinum signet ring, you should have a platinum wedding band, or do people mix their golds, or their metals, should I say?
I think it's funny, jewellery metals have had sort of decades of popularity. When I sort of recall in the noughties, white gold, everyone was wearing white gold, it became very trendy and fashionable, and you almost didn't see yellow gold, certainly with new jewellery purchases. That has sort of flipped around now, and yellow gold is making that kind of chic vintage revival, which I'm quite pleased to see because I adore yellow gold. And I think that when it comes to personal style, some jewellers would say, oh, you must keep all your jewellery metal matching. But I've got some clients that wear silver, rose gold, platinum beautifully well, and they're so stylish. So that's personal choice. There is some concern that if you were to wear a platinum ring next to a white gold ring, the platinum would start to erode the white gold. It's not ideal to have different metals in close proximity of each other. It depends on your lifestyle really as to what you're going to be doing, as to how they knock together. We don't really make signet rings or wedding bands in silver, mainly because silver is a softer metal and it does tarnish quicker than gold and platinum, so it requires more polishing and cleaning.
And the hallmark itself, how important are hallmarks?
So a hallmarking is a legal requirement with any piece of new jewellery that is made. In fact, it's something the UK jewellery market prides itself on. So if you have a piece of jewellery that's over, it's only a few grams, you legally have to have it stamped to assess the purity, or should I say certify the purity of the silver. So silver, sterling silver is 925 parts of 1,000. 9 carat gold is 375 parts out of 1,000 gold, and 18 carat 750 parts. So the English hallmarks are certainly with antique jewellery, not just modern, but they're sought after from overseas buyers that love those crisp English hallmarks that will have a maker's mark, a date letter, and then what we call a sponsor's mark.
And what are your thoughts on precious stones in men's rings? I mean, I like things like onyx, sardonyx, but you don't really see diamonds and rubies for men?
No, on the contrary, gemstones have been used in men's jewellery sort of since the day dot as well. The way of, I suppose historically it was showing one status in society because only the rich and powerful could afford precious gemstones. Even the clergy, bishops would wear big gemstone rings. And that can be precious, what we call precious gemstones, which are emeralds, sapphires, rubies and diamonds, or everything else which is considered semi-precious, which is a bit of an unfair term in my opinion, because, for example, Siberian amethyst is some of the most wonderful, rich purple tones of a gemstone you'll ever see. And to call it a semi-precious, I don't think is entirely fair. But with men's signet rings, instead of just having a gold or a platinum seal engraved ring, you may wish to stone set them, which is just another way of having that nice little accent of colour. So the most popular stone set signet rings will either be carnelian, sardonyx, bloodstone, lapis lazuli or onyx. And all of those you can seal engrave or engrave with your initials or cartouche, just like you can gold.
So how important is sizing with rings?
Oh, extremely. So when selecting a signet ring, you should try on as many as you can, but what you're trying to do is find a ring that has the right balance on your finger. You don't want something that looks too small or is too wide and just doesn't look good. And then, as more importantly, is making sure it's made to the correct size. Which should be done by a jeweller, because the last thing you want to do is have the expense of a signet ring only to lose it because it hasn't been fitted properly.
And how close should they be? I mean, should you be able to remove your ring easily, or should it be a bit of a
It's all
struggle?
about hands, fingers come in all shapes and sizes, but it's just about getting the right resistance over the knuckle. And you don't want to restrict the finger so it turns purple. But it should be a struggle to get off. I know some people wear jewellery differently and they take it off when they go to sleep at night, or they take it off at work, work in a hospital or something like that. But there's a sweet spot that a jeweller would size you properly. Interestingly, they always feel a little bit over snug for the first 2 or 3 days, and there's a slight settling on the hand afterwards, and then after a while you'd feel weird not wearing it.
Well, I wear the same rings every day and I like to keep them clean, but is there anything extra I should be doing?
Well, keeping them clean is quite important, which is something people generally forget to do. But with a nice well-made wedding band or a signet ring, they're made to last, a lifetime and pass to the next generation. If you've inherited an antique signet ring, what can happen is the what we call the shank, behind the band of the ring, can wear and become thin. So it's always good to have a jeweller cast their eye over that. If you have a stone set signet ring, you should always check with a jeweller to see that the stone's nice and secure. A nice easy way to check is if you hold the ring and tap it, you'll hear a rattle if the stone's loose. I always say to my clients that jewellery they wear certainly every day or regularly to bring it in at least once a year so we can check it over, make sure all the settings are nice and secure. So with a signet ring, if it's stone set, you don't want stones rattling because eventually a rattle will turn into a loss. So you just tighten up the settings.
And how should you really clean gold?
Well, you can actually buy gold cloth, so you can do it at home, and it just gets rid of the grime that's picked up in the moisture on gold jewellery, or you can bring it in to a jeweller's and professionally polish it on machine so it will look as new as the day it was made.
Can you over polish gold?
Yes, you can. When you polish a gold ring on a machine, you're stripping off probably 1/8 of a millimetre. So with a wedding ring, the risk is that the edges start to become a bit sharper. Now you'd have to do this quite a few times to notice it. So really you shouldn't have a ring machine polished on a regular basis, maybe once every few years. But a gold cloth at home will do just as good a job as really bringing up the lustre of the gold.
Well, I hope we've inspired you to perhaps look at your jewellery collection, maybe invest in some more rings. I know Matthew will be here to help you. As always, any questions on etiquette and style, put them in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe.